Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Wild Moments. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Who have we got joining us today? My name's Kelly. Welcome, W. Bouchard. Hello from Toronto. Jack de Boer, morning, guys. Good morning, Jack. Miss Meow Meow. Hi, everyone. Scotland, UK is in the house. Welcome to the house, Miss Meow Meow. Who else do we have with us? Dean NC, hello from Seattle. Kelly and Taylor. We are indeed joined with the delightful Taylor McCurdy this afternoon. Hello, Taylor.
Hi, Kelly. Sorry about that. My internet was working beautifully. And then, of course, as we went live, it just thought, nah, we think you just need to reboot everything. So apologies for that.
Perfect bit of timing. We are just saying our hellos. Hello, Seattle, Dean NC, I said that already. Kelly and Taylor, happy to be here with a hot cup of coffee and my dog by your side. Excellent choice of companion. That's not bad. Where's your show me your tiger? Ah, nice tiger. I've got nothing of note. I've got a bottle of water and that is about it. So how have you been, Taylor? It's lovely to see you.
Good. Very, very well. Just, powering through computer work, which not one Safari guide in their entire life likes. So admin is great, but otherwise spending as much time enjoying home as I can before I jet off for my next adventures. And yourself, Kelly, what have you been up to?
Bit of this, bit of that, hustling, nothing as exciting as you. But yeah, bits of stuff, enjoying the change of seasons. It's finally human temperatures here in the delightful Lowveld of South Africa. I think you'll agree. A lovely, I think it's about 30 today. And last night I was in 3 coats by 10 o'clock. So winter is definitely here. But yeah, enjoying these beautiful autumn temperatures, which is a great relief. Let's just see who else we've got with us. Trainer Matt 51, a good morning from Metro Charlotte, NC, USA. Hello, welcome. Iced toasted almond coffee in hand. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? I've got some water. Mr. HUAE 87, hi to all. Hello, Mr. HUAE. April Hour, good morning, everyone from a beautiful sunny morning in Connecticut. Raspberry iced tea. Everyone's got really exciting drinks, Taylor. What have you got?
Gosh, I have the world's biggest glass, and then I had a dry lemon because I needed an obscene amount of sugar. So I thought maybe that would wake me up, but it's warm now, so I'm probably not going to drink it anymore.
Yeah, I've got water. You've got warm, and we've got raspberry iced tea. You're very happy to be here. April Hour, Bridget McKinney, hello, Taylor and Kelly. Karu also says hello, Kelly and Taylor. That is the hellos done. Everyone is well. So I think let's jump into our first clip. I think we have had a very popular subject over the last week or so. Let's jump in and have a look and see. Our little fluffers. I think you called it last time you were here, didn't you, Taylor? That maybe she was gonna have some activity that night, and I believe you were correct.
Yeah, it was last week Tuesday, and I mean it was just absolutely fascinating. She was pacing up and down. We've been told by the handlers that she hadn't been eating, which of course, when you're about to give birth, I think food is the furthest thing from your mind. Yeah, and she obviously looked heavily pregnant. I'm not sure exactly what time she ended up giving birth, but I hope some of you that were watching last week Tuesday managed to catch it live. I mean, I think that that's pretty spectacular to be able to see animals that are in these rehabilitation centers, to see an animal give birth in the wild. I mean, Kelly, have you ever seen any animals give birth?
No, we were actually talking about this last week. I think Ben was here as well. He's also caught an impala sort of 30 seconds afterwards. But I've also caught very, very new, sort of almost still in the amniotic sac, almost impala. But that's about it. How about you? Have you ever seen any proper live birth?
I actually have a giraffe on 2 separate occasions. Yeah, the first time was when I was doing my guide training. So it was like 13 years ago. And then I saw it in the Masai Mara a couple of years ago too. And then I have seen a blesbok give birth, and then I have seen an impala give birth too. And then also I just missed an elephant giving birth, but like, I mean, it's one thing seeing the big thick-skinned animals that are out in the open, but to see a predator giving birth, right? I mean, that's crazy. And then I did have a laugh though, because one of the things that I said last week Tuesday was I highly doubt that she's going to give birth out in the open, right? Because
Yeah.
when big cats do something like that, you know, they're incredibly vulnerable. And then I heard that's exactly what she did. So, you know, animals, like I said, animals like to make us look silly, but I'm the clown, so I don't mind.
No, they don't read the books. But Ben and I didn't see it live, but we watched a live clip, and the first thing we also said was, "Oh my goodness, she is like giving birth, wide open spaces, completely out in the open." And I think that's a really nice sign. You know, obviously there's lots of debates around animals in captivity and all the rest of it, but that to me is a clear sign that that animal is comfortable in its environment.
Yeah. I completely agree with you.
It doesn't happen. They won't leave themselves vulnerable, and for her to give birth out in the open like that, as you say, it's most unusual. So I think that was great. But I think there's been lots of watching of these little ones growing and starting to move around more. And I was actually surprised when I saw how that, you know, they're not like running around, but even in the same sort of hour and a half, you know, they're tricky. They're still sort of rolling and wobbling off in a. They can can't exactly walk, but they can move around like immediately.
Yeah. You know what they remind me of, and for lack there of better words, fly larvae. Just like, because they're so awkwardly shaped, and they don't have, like, you know, the appendages, for example, like a caterpillar of a moth or a butterfly might have, or even the larvae of a beetle species. They seem to navigate a little bit better, but they're just, you know, they're just sort of there, and they're just dragging themselves around. I don't know. And cheetah deserve so much more respect, but it's the first thing that pops into my mind. But what is so exciting, and I'm happy about, and I'm sure some of you know this, that unfortunately cheetah don't, especially the cubs, don't have a high success rate. And there was a study that was done a couple of years ago in the Masai Mara, where they had suggested and linked in that particular area in the Masai Mara that the reason for the high mortality rates with cheetah cubs is because of the pressure from people and vehicles, and females having to move their den sites more often than they need to, you know. So I think these cubs have got a very good chance of making it all the way to adulthood, which is great, so that they can be released into wilderness areas and help, you know, change up the genetics. So, you know, there is a place for having something like a cheetah in captivity, with it the hope that the offspring are going to be the ones that are going to be rewilded in the future, and you know, translocated to all different countries all over the world. So I'm very excited about that. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a cheetah cub that, I mean, a newly hatched cheetah. Why?
Fresh out of the oven. Newly hatched.
So I mean, that's like so incredibly special. And in fact, I've only ever seen really young cheetah cubs once in my entire career. So that was on a private game reserve, and so an enclosed ecosystem, not an open ecosystem, but it was still so special to see. So, you know, this is a great opportunity for all of us to sit and learn about cheetah, to see them. How long does it take for that mantle to start to disappear, you know, because we always just kind of guess it for the most part when we're out.
You don't know, but I don't know if you've heard the same, Taylor. People often say, oh, how old's that, you know, whatever it is. I don't know, it's an adult, or it's a not an adult, or it's very difficult to gauge, because we were there when it was born, but we were there when these were born, so we know exactly how old these are to the hour, and it's a really nice opportunity to get those timings right and get that really good understanding. So I think it's super exciting to be able to be part of it.
I think it's a really nice project for all of you that are watching the Africam cameras regularly. Hopefully you all took some screenshots, you know, from beforehand, and you can literally start a folder and you could take screenshots of them every single day that they are around where they can be seen. And I mean, that's as accurate as you're going to get in terms of aging, you know, which is truly amazing. So share that information to people that are, you know, guide enthusiasts, or share the link, get people to watch this, because it's not something that we get to see every single day.
No, for sure. It's very, very cool, and keep watching. And I know I'm very excited to see how this see how this mum and her, and I nearly called them pups then. Oh dear, Taylor was hatching
You're on
cheetahs.
a roll.
Well, good work, team. Anyway, let's move on. Jean Gale is also here from another sunny spring morning in Seattle. Hello, Jean Gale. Jack DeBoer, Cheetah can run up to 75 miles an hour. Do you do miles an hour? Is it miles an hour? I can only do kilometers. Sounds about
I
right.
can also, but I think that's
Yeah.
about 100, just over 100, 110 kilometers an hour or so.
Sounds about right to me. Zygote, namaste. Sorry you're late. That's okay, Zygote. Don't let it happen again. All right, that is fabulous, and keep an eye on those little fluffy little babies. Right, I think next let's head over, and we have another exciting new appearance, I think, on some of the very well-known cameras.
Oh my goodness.
I see eye shine.
Oh wow.
I've been watching I haven't been watching these little chicks. I've been watching a piece of penguin behind some bushes for quite a while now. And finally, we've got a little bit of activity at this little baby penguin's nest. It looks like they're feeding there. How up are you on penguin feeding techniques,
Well,
Taylor?
you know, funny you should ask this. I feel so sad that I actually haven't ever spent that much time with penguins and watching them. I mean, I've been to Cape Town and I've seen them occasionally, but you know, we're a little bit on the slim side of cheetah out here in the low veld. But you know, obviously, I get to see them with the Africam cameras, which I'm so grateful for. So I don't know. I just find them, you know, absolutely fascinating. I have had to do a fair amount of research, as you can imagine, because I haven't been able to just sit there and watch things for myself. But one of the things I find fascinating is how dependent these chicks are in terms of the parents. And I'm not just talking about feeding, but it's the fact that they aren't able to regulate their body temperatures either. You know, they've got those sort of downish feathers, but they really rely for the first couple of weeks of their life for the adults to help keep them warm. And at this time of the year in the Western Cape, my goodness, the weather is turning at an alarming rate. The winds will start to be picking up. You know, we're going to start, it becomes rainy season on the west coast of South Africa. So it's rather miserable. And then obviously feeding the chicks. One thing that blows my mind, because we all know that chicks are fed regurgitated fish, right? Which is put on what the adults are eating, maybe some squid. But what I would like to ask all of you that are watching, have you ever seen a picture of a penguin's mouth before on the inside and what their throat and what we would, I suppose, deem the palate looks like? Have you ever done that, Kelly?
I have not. I have not had a look at a penguin's palate like you. I've like done a bit of research here and there for the cameras, but I've never observed penguins. I've certainly never guided around penguins. And I think when we spend a lot of time around different animals, you know, you can read stuff in books, but we learn things from watching. And I've never had an opportunity to watch penguins on a regular basis, and I certainly haven't seen the inside of a penguin's mouth. Have you, Jack? Please share it with the group.
I am hoping that all of you have now Googled a picture. Kelly, you have to Google a picture very quickly of the inside of a penguin's mouth, because it is insane. I saw this a couple of years ago, but I haven't really had the opportunities to talk about it. So as we all know, birds don't have teeth, right? Or not in the traditional sense. So they aren't able to chew their food. Some birds have the ability, you know, like raptors, sorry, they've got big talons, they can hold down their prey, they've got sharp hooks on the end of their beak, so they can tear flesh. But a majority of the birds, especially seabirds, they're eating their prey whole, and they need something to be able to help hold on and guide the prey back, you know, down into their throat. So they don't have teeth. They have got these keratinized barbs or structures that face backwards, and it reminds me of a shark teeth, doesn't it? I don't know. Well, you know, or something out of some kind of a horror movie.
I'd say horror movie.
Horror movie. I'm starting to think of like like a giant worm from Star Wars. If it opened its mouth, it would probably have something like that. And that is scary. But I mean, obviously they're hugely adapted to that to help them eat, to hold on to that slippery prey. But it is insane. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. That's my favorite thing about penguins in terms of eating. And without that, I don't know if they'd be able to feed very well or hold on to their prey for very long. So thank goodness the adults have that. One thing I don't know is how developed that is in the chicks. That I haven't really been able to find out. I haven't been able to find many images, but to be honest, I could probably do a little bit more research. But it is, I'd like to understand how developed those are. At what age do those keratinized spines, barbs actually start to form in a young chick's mouth? But I feel like that is a question for Trishala, seeing as though she is a specialist, obviously being a biologist, and she does know a lot about the marine life. But fascinating. If any of you know, of course, please share that with us right now. We'd love to hear about it.
We are absolutely live and interactive as always. Zygote, 2 chicks or more. I think it looked like 2 chicks. I only saw 2 under there. I think they normally have 2, don't they, Taylor? I think
they can have 2 or 1. For the most part, I would, maybe. Yeah, probably. I'm trying to think. I'm honestly trying to think. If whenever
my gut says 2, but they're not going to be in clutch 6 or 7 or anything. So,
no.
I would guess 2. I would guess there's probably 2 there.
I think it's often 1 though. I don't know why I want to say 1. Sorry, everybody. I've completely forgotten how many eggs they will lay, but it's not that many. I think it might be 1.
I think I saw 2 little sets of eyes there.
Cool.
So I think currently 2. Jack de Boer, you love penguins. Mozart 5001 or 5001. Sweet Babies. S Pancake. Such a great view of the baby penguins. And I just realised there are 2 of them. I also saw 2 little sets of eye shine there. Very, very cute. And update that we've only seen 2 since we hatched. So I'm probably going to stick with 2. Fingers crossed. They both get all the way.
I hope that they both are successfully reared, because I mean we see this a lot when you have more than 1 chick. Often one will tend to outcompete the other. But I suppose also going into winter though in the West Coast, the upwellings bring up all that nutrient rich, all the minerals and microorganisms that are sitting lower down in the ocean up to the surface. So a lot more food will be available at this time of the year in the West Cape. Sorry, my eyes are so itchy. It's crazy. So hopefully, there'll be enough, and the adults both of them will be successful at providing enough food for those youngsters.
And it might be interesting as well, those cheetah babies and those penguin chicks, they're probably around about hatched around about the same time. So maybe we should everyone watching the camera should see, okay, this is how able these cheetahs were at this age, and then compare them. Those penguins will be off swimming by the time they're 3 months old, and the cheetahs will still be scrabbling around somewhere. But who knows? I think it'd be really interesting comparison to make. Jack de Boer, African penguins weigh up to 7 pounds or 3.2 kilograms. Thank you very much, Jack. I would not have been able to tell you the weight of a penguin. Karu, wow, this is really interesting to learn about the inside of their mouths. It is, Karu. I've got a mozzie. I agree. Thanks for sharing that, Taylor. I did not know that, and that is pretty much like a horror film, if you ask me. But the great news that we have little penguin chicks. Okay, let's move on. It's definitely a mother and baby theme this week. And let's cross over to Founders Waterhole and see.
Sweet.
See, all baby animals are fabulous, but baby rhinos are something else, aren't they?
Yeah. Baby rhinos and baby hippos are honestly, I mean, elephants I absolutely adore, but if I had to choose one out of those 3, for me, it's a baby hippopotamus. But yeah, I mean, I love anything. It's hard to not love anything that's small. I suppose it's in our nature, right?
It's literally how the world survives, is by making things love baby things. Otherwise, no one would bother to look after them, probably animals included. But look at that. Oh my goodness.
I also realized, Kelly, I can't remember if we've had a discussion about this, how over the years I have severely misaged rhinos, and well, specifically the calves. It's just absolutely insane, like to the point now where I'm actually not sure how old an older rhino is anymore, because you see so much information that I would have gone, oh, that looks like maybe a 1.5 calf, and then someone's like, it's actually only 8 months, going, how did it grow so big so quickly? But I suppose
I agree. I've almost even stopped sexing things as well. Taylor, obviously this is almost 100% a female rhino. I'm not quite sure what this little calfie's sex is at the moment because I can't see any bits clearly. And I've sort of given up. I've discovered I can get ages wrong, I can get sexes wrong. It's definitely a rhino.
Yeah.
It's definitely a young one. I don't know how long anyone has been seeing this rhino. I think it is a fairly regular on this camera. I don't know when this rhino was born.
I think it's a little boy. I'm just
Is it a
trying
little
to
boy?
see. You know, it also, yeah, I think so. I was just having, yeah, it's definitely a little boy. I saw the bits
Well,
of the boy.
you saw the boy bits. This is
Yeah.
excellent. But these little boys, and I've noticed the same in elephants. The little male calves. Oh, they can be cheeky little boys often. But I loved. I actually saw rhino yesterday morning. I was fortunate enough to see rhino yesterday morning. It wasn't as small as that, a youngster. It was probably about 150 kilograms. I don't know how old that was. It was a decent size, but they started moving off as we approached, and the way they move, it always shocks me how fluid and how smoothly and seamlessly and easily rhinos move. When you see them lying down, you think, oh, that's not going to move. But these little babies, the way they bounce, they're so cute.
But they are. So I always tell a story, and I don't know if I've ever told it to everybody that's watching, but when I was learning how to become a trails guide, I was very fortunate enough to have some amazing mentors. And when I didn't have guests or during the day, whatever the case may be, I'd ask if I could go and practice walking. And when we would do this as guides, we didn't take rifles because the most important thing is to walk in the bush, as you know, Kelly, as if you didn't have a rifle. Then you don't do silly things.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a sighting with a huge white rhino bull. He was out in the open plains, and the guy, my senior guide that was helping me out, he wanted me to understand rhinos and how they interact with people because I'd actually never approached rhinos on foot before. So I had no understanding. So it was just him and I, and off we went. And we basically like sat down in this open area next to a small bush, but we were hundreds of meters away from this rhino. The sun was in front of us and we were looking directly at it. And this rhino bull eventually picked up our scent and started like moving towards us, just very inquisitive. They're amazing animals. And the guide that I was with, he said, cool, when it gets to that point over there, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a sound so that this animal realizes that we are here, but we're not going to jump up and clap and shout and scream. So I was like, okay, cool. This is quite interesting. So we did that. I've never seen this rhino couldn't figure out where we were because we sort of shaded ourselves next to the smallest squarry bush you've ever seen in your entire life. And he jumped. It's almost like, and I know rhinos cannot jump, but I swear this individual levitated and did a complete 180, like a ballerina, and then like bolted off into the other direction. Again, this is training. We do need to learn how to encounter these animals. So it's not something I'd ever do with guests, but it's very important when you're starting to learn to understand animal behavior. And it's very different in a vehicle versus when you're on foot. And it was just one of those amazing moments that stuck with me to really showcase how a big heavy animal that looks like it's not going to go anywhere can move and turn. And I've seen the same thing with hippos, which you know. But Kelly, I wanted to tell you, I was just in India and I went to Kaziranga National Park, which was incredible. And that is the national park in India where they have the greater one-horn rhinos. Those things are enormous. I thought southern white rhinos were big, and I have been very fortunate enough to see the last two northern white rhinos too. My goodness, they are armor-plated tanks. It's crazy how granulated the skin is, and it literally looks like they've got armored pieces, coming off the side of them. But they were
Are they
also
bigger than white rhinos?
yeah, bigger, much bigger. They're huge, and they spend so much time in the water as well. I mean, we all know rhinos can't swim, right? And if they do find themselves in deep water, they're going to end up drowning. I was terrified. I was watching these rhinos. They were just wading into the lakes, and they were getting deeper and deeper. And they would just stand, and the water would be like here. And I was like, how are you not drowning? And then they'd go back and find shallower water, and they just completely submerged to the point where you could just see their nostrils and their horns sticking out. It was insane. Just completely different behavior from like what we see to rhinos in Africa. Yeah.
You'll have to show me some pictures. I would love to see that. But no, that's what an amazing thing to be able to compare as well. I see Mindy Tillabar, you don't know how rhinos can drink without getting water in their noses. Nor do I, probably quite carefully. I've seen them blow bubbles before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that nice submerged. We had a long conversation. I had a long conversation the other day with someone about animals that slurp and animals that lap water. But anyway, I got highly absorbed in that. We haven't got too much time left, so I think let's scoot over for our last clip of the day, Taylor, if that's okay with you, and the Lady Dam, and see who we have there. More mums, babas.
Oh, is it having a stretch? Oh, Mom's leg. Mom's like, absolutely not. I'm not a tree. Go rub on something else.
Oh, hi, girly.
Oh gosh, look at that bulge.
Anyone want a close up of an elephant's ear? You know, we always say the skin is thinner.
I could.
Oh,
gosh,
hi.
Like she's visiting us and we're the ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Maybe she wants to show us the inside of her mouth. Maybe she's got penguin mouth envy. Oh, wow, she's having a good old play there.
Oh gosh, she's really moved the camera around. I love elephants for that.
Maybe she was doing something secret. Maybe she was...
Don't worry, everybody. We can carry on as normal. I'll turn the cameras away. This is a well thought out plot. Perhaps they're going to rob a bank. Who knows?
Maybe. Mindy's saying it gave the camera a nice scratch. Yeah, is that a scratch or is that a bit of stuff? Maybe she has scratched. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if that elephant scratched. They're quite they're pretty large. I've lost 2 trail cam. Oh, she gave it a.
Ah, she's scratching. Can you imagine the entire tech team going, no, 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 no?
I've lost 2 trail cameras to hyena. I don't have one. And the last one was actually found, and I got the pictures of the last few pictures that are on the camera, and there's just like just big teeth, and then but the memory card survived. The memory card made.
That's epic. You're gonna have to share those.
Yeah, I think that camera's done well to survive. Yeah, I think that camera's done a good job. But it is, I've mentioned it a couple of times on the show before. I really enjoy these cameras, and I've got a little. It's actually very cheap indoor security camera that I've made an absolute mess of, and I've plugged it into a plug in my garden, and I get so excited when I get notifications of something by the bird bath. It just really excites me. I'm like a child. I've now got a porcupine knows where the water is now, and he scuffles in like this, and then he goes off again. And I've got a regular civet now.
Wow!
In it because it's getting dry, but there's just something so special about being able to. Oh, there's a bauble there right now. About being able to observe these animals in secret. I don't know if it's some sort of, I don't know, like voyeurism, but like they don't know I'm there. I find it so interesting to be able to just watch them behaving normally.
I also love that. And sometimes I think that the animals definitely put on an act for us and behave completely different when they realize that there's no one else around, until they realize that we have all these cameras, I suppose, put up pretty much everywhere.
Definitely, but that was interesting. And I wonder if she did really turn it away. Jack de Boer is also saying, this herd actually also pushed the microphone pole at Katmai Pan as well. So they're a naughty group, according to Mindy. They're plotting. I've also just been bitten really badly by a mosquito. Maybe they're plotting a world takeover if they're smashing the mic and the cameras. Jack de Boer. Rhinos can roll themselves in the mud to prevent from getting a burn and also keep the bugs off their backs. This is spot on, Jack. Lots of these animals will use mud as a sunscreen or a bug deterrent. And Mozart 5001. Is it me, or do some of these animals like being on camera? As you just said, Taylor, do you think they know? Do you think they know?
I think it's the funniest thing, and you could probably search trail camera bloopers or something like that. But there's always a vervet monkey or a baboon that holds the camera. Oh, I've got to do it right, and then like looks into it and basically takes a selfie. It is so funny to see things like that. So again, if you've got some spare time, the weekend's coming along, that will provide you with a lot of laughter too. But yeah, I love it. I love those cameras. I actually am getting one of those trail cameras soon, and I can't wait to put it out because we have a honey badger, we have a female leopard that has given birth here on this property, which I'm not so happy about. Because they eat my animals, which makes me very sad. And then occasionally we have had a hyena like the last week, also just roaming around and whooping right outside the house, which is super cool. So I can't wait to kind of catch
Put it
them.
up really high because those trail cameras are expensive. Really high because I lost one and then I thought I'm going to put that up higher. And yeah, it wasn't high enough.
I've got a cage, which I'm happy about.
There we go. Yeah, but I've this is really sad. I've set up this little security camera. It's like this far from the bird bath. And I've had some, I'll send you them, Taylor. I've had some great pictures of really close up civets and stuff. But I set it up so I get notifications on my phone. And if I'm watching a film, I sit there with my notifications on. It's like, oh, pause the film, ping, what's outside? It just doesn't get old for me. I think it's absolutely fascinating. That is all we have time for, I think, this week. That is the end of our mummy and baby based clips. I think we've had a great time. Beautiful sightings of that Cheetah and her cubbies. I hope everyone's ready with their notebooks and recording different developmental stages, which is often something we don't catch quite as accurately. We've had penguin, finally had those chicks, which I've been waiting for ages. We've got mummy rhino and calf. Believed to now be identified as a little boy. Thank you very much for that, Taylor. And our cheeky elephants knocking the cameras and the microphones about. So that's all we've got time for this week. Taylor McCurdy, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad I made it this time. Apologies for last week. I didn't even get to say sorry.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. But thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for all your questions and all your comments. And we look forward to seeing you back here very, very soon for Wild Moments. Take care.